Hello, everyone. This is Devin Thorpe for Your Mark on the World, and I am honored to have with us a special guest, Robert Selliah of American MedChem Nonprofit Corporation. And Robert has tackled one of the most important missions of our time, and that is to find and fund cures for orphan diseases that are impacting so many children, but individually small numbers in each, but in total vast numbers of children who are suffering. So, Robert, thank you very much for joining me today. It's a thrill and an honor to have you with us.
Thank you for the invite, Devin. It's a pleasure to be with you and talk about this important work.
It is important. Tell me a little bit about how you came upon this. Why did you decide to tackle this?
Mysterious, I should say, but I have been involved in pharmaceutical research, drug discovery, R&D for about 18 years. I was working for a company out in India, taking long international flights, a lot of time to think. I think the thought came to my mind as to what is happening in childhood diseases. I didn't even think about rare disease at that time. What is happening in childhood diseases? And that kind of directed me, that thought process directed me to, most medicines for children are used as off-label, and then when I stumbled upon rare diseases, there's nothing really going on. Very little at least is going on. So I, as a drug discovery professional, realized that only drug discovery professionals can help these children. Parents are not scientists mostly, and they can't find the medicines. Physicians are not drug discovery people, so they prescribe the medicine. Only drug discovery professionals like myself can provide this help. So that was the driving force.
And well, it is, and it's a huge problem. There are, I've heard numbers ranging from 5,000 to 9,000 individual diseases for which there are no known treatments or cures.
That's correct.
What's the number you use?
7,000 is what National Organization for Rare Disorders has on their website. 7,000 different rare diseases in this world. And in the US, what 20 million children are afflicted by any one of these rare diseases. 30 million total. So 2/3 of these patients in the US are children. If you go internationally, there is 350 million patients worldwide, and proportionately the number of children, right? So it's a huge number when you collect it, but each disease is a small group of patients, so naturally it falls off the radar screen of pharmaceutical, biotech, risk capital, venture capital models. So we have kind of walked by it.
I heard a scary statistic at a conference a couple of weeks ago. The statistic I heard was that against these 7,000, that we're identifying treatments for about 10 each year, meaning that we would have about a 700-year backlog in identifying treatments at the current rate.
Exactly. That number is correct. To date, we have, since 1983, the Orphan Drug Act was passed by the Congress. To date, we have medicines, about 250 medicines for about 400 diseases. And if you keep counting, I think we'll be all gone, by the time we find medicines for these kids.
Yeah, the kids will all be dead before we find solutions to most of these. We've got to do something to radically change the pace of drug discovery for these diseases. What is the path? What's the plan? What are you going to do, Robert? Save us.
Right. The path is, Devin, the simple answer is the same drug discovery process, drug discovery and development process that goes into Viagra, of glyburide, of Celebrex, goes into finding medicines for kids' diseases too. So what is going on is, if you tap into the academic circles in organizations like Children's Hospital Boston, Children's Hospital Philadelphia, Huntsman Cancer Center here locally, they are committed to doing the basic research in finding the biology behind these diseases, like the genetics and the proteins that are going wrong, right? But they have no way of taking those discoveries to the clinical setting for what's called translational research, right? Because they cannot, these faculty members cannot typically take this project for 300 children, for example, and go to a venture capital in a traditional sense and say, hey, I'm going to make a drug for these kids, can you fund me and I'll give you a return on investment. That conversation doesn't happen because the VCs will politely say, God bless you, go do the work, right? So what AMC comes in to do is we are going to partner with these leading biologists, right? Because the biology work is done. That is where the highest risk is, Devin. And we are going to partner with them and do what's called the translational research, the grunt work of creating medicines. Every tablet that you take, medicine pill that you take, has come through the hands of someone like myself. I call myself a drug designer, a molecular architect, if you want to use a technical term. We design these drugs that affect proteins and genes and receptors and various things like that. So the work just has to be done, right? So the biology is there. Like I have talked to folks at NIH. They have so many screening facilities that goes on to find prototype molecules. These prototype molecules are not drugs yet, but we can take them and convert them to drug compounds, right? Drug candidates, which can be validated in the clinic, and the FDA supervises that work. So that middle ground is where there's a huge gap. I mean, the traditional pharmaceutical companies are calling it, or venture capitalists calling it, the valley of death. I hate to use that expression. I call it the valley of serendipity. You do the work, and serendipity helps you to find these medicines. So we just want to collaborate, do the work, and hand it over to the clinicians who are pediatricians, very compassionate human beings, who will do the clinical studies. And I think we can fill that gap very nicely. So we look for philanthropy money to help us get started. But I also know that there's a lot of grants out there. As I said, family foundations are willing to step in and, $100,000, $200,000, $250,000 grants to move programs forward. It'll be a lot of legwork, but how many people can do this work? And AMC is committed to doing this work.
Well, it is a tremendously important effort, and we have to change the economics, right, for the whole industry, start to finish, in order to make this work. It seems like you've identified a key step in this process, which is trying to de-risk drug development a little bit up front using philanthropic rather than investment dollars, right?
That's correct. De-risk is a great term because if you imagine the process of drug discovery and development left to right, the risk is highest on the left-hand side. When it gets to clinical stage, there is still risk, but industry understands that risk. National Cancer Institute understands that risk. They're willing to take these lead candidate compounds and run the clinical trials and take it. So when we take it forward, we also will be attracting, hopefully attracting industry partners. Some of Genzyme is committed to childhood rare diseases. Shire Biopharmaceuticals is committed to childhood rare diseases. We can have some meaningful conversations with them to get these compounds all over the world, these drugs all over the world, and the kids, to treat them. So we are looking for partners down the line. Yeah.
So what are the things that you most need at this point in your development, in your effort? What do you most want from people who may be listening to this discussion?
Yes, so we have, as you can see from our website, which is americanmedchem.org, we have put together an excellent committed board of directors. And I have also established in the last 3 years excellent network into research organizations. In fact, there is one project that is waiting at Numa's Center for Childhood Cancer Research for a rare leukemia, pediatric leukemia, and there is a family foundation also willing to give the initial grant of $150,000 to kickstart this program. What we have here in Salt Lake are is a laboratory facility that is pre-existing, so I can sublease a small amount of space, hire about 3 scientists, and get the research started. But to do that, we are looking for seed money. Seed money is a venture or for-profit term, but I'm using it in the nonprofit sector too. Philanthropic support, a benefactor, a patron who is compassionate, wealthy, who wants to be part of this work, who will come along and say, let us do this. And with that money, that will be our first milestone, and we can kickstart a project, and then we will write grants on top of that for that project. There are second, third, and fourth projects which I've identified from St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, from Oregon University of Health, Science and Health, I think it's called, all working on pediatric rare diseases. So these faculty members are extremely excited about the fact that AMC is coming along. And there's an organization called St. Baldrick's Foundation, which raises money and supports pediatric cancer research exclusively. They are excited that AMC is coming along because they have been funding biology and genetics research, and they didn't have a facility for translational work. So I have become friends with them, and I know the folks there. They're very excited and to introduce AMC to research organization. So we need that seed capital. Short answer is that we need that seed capital, and that's what we are going about doing now. And if there are philanthropists out there who care about kids' health, to make life better for kids, I say it this way, and if you just think about it, we all went through childhood, we survived, and we are here as adults, trying to do good, social leaders, wealthy people. When we look back at children who are sick, what does it make us feel? We have to do something about it.
Yes, absolutely. We feel compelled, and with good reason, to end the suffering of so many children. And a lot of these diseases are forms of cancer, right? Virtually all childhood cancers are rare diseases, aren't they?
Exactly. By definition, all pediatric cancers are rare diseases. This project at NUMA's Center for Childhood Research is for an infant leukemia. Right? Leukemia is treatable. To about 80% of kids get treated and survive leukemia. Right? But the rest of the 20% of the children don't respond to medication. And these guys at NUMAS have found out the target, the genetic marker and the target why these children don't respond. But now we can actually create an intelligent drug. So I'll call it a magic bullet, if you will, but I call it targeted, precise, personalized medicine for these 300 children every year, and we can treat that. And that's excellent work. If we can get a drug out there, 300 children who didn't have medicines before will have medicine.
I mean, it would save their lives, change the entire, change their lives, right? To preserve their lives, save their lives. I mean, you just couldn't do anything more important for them.
Yes. 70 years of life they'll have ahead of them, as opposed to infant death.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing work you're doing, Robert, and I certainly wish you every success, and thank you again for being with us. Remind us of your website again.
So it is AmericanMedChem.org. One word.
AmericanMedChem.org. Wonderful. Again, Robert, thank you very much for being with us and for the good work that you're doing.
Thank you very much, Devin, for the opportunity.
All righty. Let's do some good.
Let's do some good.